Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Saturday, August 18th, 2018. 8/18/18. Nice date. It's so important to look for signs of encouragement when life is discouraging. And things like dates and times and colors and music can be signals of encouragement from above, from wiser minds above. And to be aware of that and be grateful for them is important. This is an extremely inconvenient time in this biosphere. And it's important for each of us to consider what we want our karmic records to show that we did in this historic era. In both the Lynn life and the Jamie body mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions. And all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are already living by the search for truth rules given to the search for truth community by wiser minds above all of us. And those rules include participating in the work, which actually includes taking responsibility for breathing. When we delegate breathing to our cellular souls, we are ignoring the reality that they have it worse than we do.
That's true.
Especially if we're living in North America and we're documented residents or citizens of the country in which we live. We don't actually have real problems. Nobody's bombing us. We have a reasonably safe place to sleep every night. We have reasonably safe water, although that's debatable, but it's reasonably safe. It doesn't have open pathogens. It doesn't have cholera or dysentery.
That's true.
And easily available food that is not directly toxic immediately.
That's true.
Our cells, on the other hand, are living in a nightmare world because of GMOs and the toxicity that's embedded in our food. They're having real troubles, real actual troubles. And how it plays out, what it looks like when we drop into our cellular selves and view it interdimensionally, it looks like open warfare.
That's true.
And to think that somebody who's living in a war zone should take responsibility for our breathing while we lounge and have our goji berries, that's absurd and so selfish as to be actually kind of repellent. And for each of us to consider, is that the kind of person we want to be, or don't we want to be better people than that? Don't we want to actually provide a service to our cellular selves? One way we can provide a service is literally to just aerate, ventilate the space. In other words, breathe. We can do this. So souls who are coming into these host lives who aren't willing to participate in breathing, this is really not your right space. It really isn't. This is not the correct dimension for you to be taking up residence, and we invite you to go up or down, but this isn't your right place because we're actively trying to take responsibility for breathing, and it's not going well.
That's true.
What now, what now, what now to evacuate the even deeper, denser dimensions? And while anybody is seeing if they can come up with anything other than pumping up cells from wherever Pan is working, pumping up the cellular souls from wherever Pan is working, or it doesn't have to be cellular souls.
That's true.
If anybody can come up with something other than pumping up the cellular and smaller souls from wherever Pan is working, straight up through these spines and up through what looks like an underground railroad effort of evacuation from the depths, to the highest powers we can connect with right now, who really want to evacuate the even deeper, denser dimensions, until somebody can come up with a better plan than that, then that's what we're going with. Is that okay? When it's hard to hear higher presences, one thing we can do to keep the portals open is to show them what's happening here and speak to them, saying, here's what I'm doing, this is the direction in which I'm headed, is this okay? This is what I'm doing, is this okay? Is there a better way? Is there something else I am supposed to be doing right now? And to see what happens. And somebody's pointing to what happened yesterday, and it was, we believe, and we don't, it's unclear who's speaking.
That's true.
But whoever's speaking, they're saying we, the collective, believe that there was a group who came in, group of higher powers came into these host lives, and they definitely thought that they were better than all groups that had come before them.
Oh, that's very true.
Which is a reasonably common attitude for groups that come in from above, and it's kind of below the crest of the bell curve, that group's intention.
That's true.
It hits the accurate spot on the bell curve before the bell curve crests, so that means they have below average intention, which we're not trying to use as a derogatory term, but just this specific mathematical statement.
That's true.
They thought that they were better than the groups that had been here before.
That's true.
And then what they found is that every single decision was difficult, and when they made the decisions, it seemed like more than 50% of the time they chose something that didn't work, and so it was a difficult day, but that's okay.
That's true.
That's okay, because our job is to run experiments for those in higher dimensions and see how they go, and the higher powers can adjust their thinking based on the results of these experiments, and everything goes wonderfully as long as they actually change the thinking, and that's what's crucial, is to actually acknowledge the results of the experiments. And if we're not acknowledging the results of the experiments, then something's gone awry, and is that who we really want to be, or don't we want to do better than that? Now pump up from the even deeper, denser dimensions, cellular souls, molecular souls, atomic souls, subatomic souls, straight up through the Underground Railroad. What now, what now, what now, to evacuate to the even deeper, denser dimensions. Somebody's saying that the souls that are being evacuated are not better than the souls who were here yesterday, and we would agree with that, and we don't wish to make an impression that the souls in the depths are of better quality than the higher power souls who are coming in. It just all kind of feels the same, to be honest. It feels very coherent and homogeneous, and the only thing that differs is the toxicity of the container.
That's
and
true.
In the depths, the container is extremely toxic, and that wave of toxicity is sweeping into the less dense dimensions, and now we see what looks like fire in the sky.
That's true.
In less dense dimensions also, so it's beneath this dimension in the depths, the deeper dimensions, and above it in the less dense dimensions, and we know things are interconnected, and that means it's coming, and the only question is when. How long? I don't. This is a topic of almost endless discussion upstairs. Is how much longer can this illusion of continuity possibly continue? And they don't know. Nobody has any answer to that.
That's true.
It's an open question. Everything's floating on air. There's not a solid underpinning. All the foundations of society are actually rotten.
That's true.
It's a good question. It's an open question. Now they're reviewing the foundations of society, and they're saying, well, what do you mean by that? Surely education's not corrupt. And then they look and they say, oh, well,
wow,
okay, well, surely religion's not corrupt.
Oh, okay,
it is.
that's
Well,
right.
surely government's, and then they all start to laugh. And business, and then they all are just rolling on the floor laughing and wiping their eyes, because it's so funny to think that those aren't corrupt.
That's true.
Everything is pretty much openly corrupt, unfortunately. Even the do-gooder organizations. Somebody says, what about the do-gooder organizations? That's the best bet, actually, is just go work in a do-gooder organization.
That's true.
At least you're working for some mission that has a purpose. And to try to make it better, to try to mitigate the disaster. There were 18,000 baby penguins that hatched in Antarctica in a certain penguin colony, and 2 of those penguins survived because when they got to the ocean and tried to eat, there was nothing to eat. They starved to death because we're farming krill. We're rolling up the food chain from the bottom, which is not a good move if you intend for life to continue.
That's true.
And what's going to happen next year? Because the adults will also probably starve. If the babies are starving now, those fish that they would have been eating, the babies eat smaller fish.
That's true.
Next year the adults would have been eating the fish that don't exist.
That's true.
And so next year maybe even the mamas and the papas will die. And we invite you to at least look at March of the Penguins, a movie of several years ago.
That's true.
Documentary. They're not going to make it. And those poor penguins, they probably thought that by choosing to live in the harshest conditions known on this planet, that they would somehow survive destruction.
That's true.
But it's chased them. It's collapse time. Friends, we can't roll up the food chain from the bottom. That's crazy.
No, that's true.
And if it's happening in Antarctica, even in Antarctica, it's happening. It's pretty much to the planetary level. We've already rolled up the food chain in the Gulf of Mexico and
That's
the Caribbean and the Grand Banks. The cod are decimated, and how you can tell that is look at the lobster populations which cod prey upon, and the lobster populations are up, although it's moving north of Cape Cod because the warm water is moving north. And friends, there have been at least 2, and I think 3 subtropical storms, like baby hurricanes, tropical storms, up in Newfoundland and right south of Greenland, and they're going to Ireland. That's just crazy. So it's a disconnect from reality to think that we aren't into the time of the accounting.
That's true.
Now, what are each of us as individuals going to do to make it right? Because as individuals, we will die one day, and we will be held accountable for what we did in this historic time. This is historic. This isn't a joke. This isn't a drill. All life is collapsing from the collapse of integrity. It's time to start healing the root causes, which are selfishness, ingratitude, and dodging responsibility. We can be grateful for the miracle of running water. We can be grateful for the miracle of electricity. We can be grateful for the miracle of insulation. And so on. There's so much we can be grateful for. We actually don't have any real problems. Nobody's bombing us. That's not true in many parts of the world.
That's true.
And what about the non-humans? 25 orangutans a day die because we're knocking down their forest to turn it into palm oil plantations to be put into junk food and shampoo.
That's true.
That's just wrong. We can all see that, right?
Can't we?
It was very quiet upstairs.
Very quiet.
What now? What now to evacuate to the even deeper, denser dimensions? There was a certain client who managed to misplace her body, and her body was body snatched and murdered by the body snatcher, and this all happened long before she became a client.
That's true.
And then she became a client in the attempt to reclaim a body, find a body, and pick up her soul plan and continue on living her life, because her guardian angels and their supervisors were not letting her off the hook for her soul plan. It doesn't matter that the body died. She's being held responsible for finding a new body and completing her commitments.
That's true.
There was help to find the body, and the body had to be a really good match because the payoff to the matchmaker was very high.
That's very true.
And now they have to find the body actually located, and it's somewhere in the greater Orlando area. And Red Samuel, who is a little bit of a bully to work for, said to his crew, "Find her."
That's true.
Which means they need to do it if they can. And they can't find her. They're shining light in from all angles, and she's somewhere in there, and that's all they can tell. She's somewhere in there. She's somewhere in there. And friends, if our angels can't find us, nothing good is going to happen.
That's true.
And if Red Samuel's crews, under extreme, we'll call it encouragement to find this one soul, all of them working together, can't find her, do you really think that your angels can find you in an urban area? And now what are we supposed to do? It actually matters what the soul plan is. If the soul plan has us being in the urban area, then to leave is wrong.
That's true.
If the soul plan has us not being in the urban area, then please don't go to the cities.
That's true.
It actually matters. What is it that we are supposed to be doing with our lives? Each of us, as individuals, all the time. Somebody's still questioning this bit about, well, should we leave the cities? Should we all leave the cities? The thing is, there was another client we were working with who left the city, and they thought she was still there, and so they kept looking for her in the city.
That's true.
Sending help to her in the city, and she's actually in another continent.
That's right.
And her angels couldn't find her, and that was even worse.
Oh, wow, that's true.
We're supposed to be where we're supposed to be, doing what we're supposed to be doing in every single moment. And so to give it our best shot, to be where we're supposed to be, doing what we're supposed to be doing, asking up, is this what you want me to do? Here I am doing this thing. Is this what you want me to do? Is this where you want me to be? Here's where I am, just heading in this direction, keep announcing it. That's our best bet. Keep doing that. Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, until we're released. All of us. Do what we're supposed to do. Do what we said we would do. That's the best thing to do.